Okay, so we're locked in right now as John Fetterman calls out Chuck Schumer and Democrats for their obvious hypocrisy, noting that for years they condemned the socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro. They openly called for his removal when it was politically convenient to do so. But now they're defending the very same narco-socialist strongman, not because anything has actually changed about this situation, but because President Trump is the one holding him accountable. As always, smash that thumbs up button. Let me know you love the content. Subscribe to the channel for more and share this video. That way more people see what's really going on. All right, and so after President Trump has now moved to capture Nicolas Maduro, the narco-socialist strongman of Venezuela, Democrats, they suddenly decided that this is the hill they want to die on, right? And I said this from the beginning when I began reporting on this. The moment Trump acted, Democrats were going to rush out, say things they don't actually believe. Let's understand that. And pretend this was some political crisis. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And it's not because their views change, but it's because their politics demand opposition of Trump at every cost. But here's the problem, guys. We know that the internet never forgets. You can't hide the receipts. Things just don't suddenly disappear because you say something differently. And when you go back and you look at what Democrats were saying before Trump took action, the picture is pretty much crystal clear. You can't deny it. They openly supported Maduro being removed from power. They didn't just hint. They complained actually to Trump during his first term that he wasn't actually aggressive enough. Go figure. They wanted more pressure. And so now they're pretending that this is unacceptable as just political theater. And here's Chuck Schumer on the record saying President Trump wasn't doing enough to deal with Maduro during his first administration. Take a listen.
He brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
So yeah, there you have that, ladies and gentlemen. And it's funny how this works, right? After feeling so strongly about this during Trump's first term, and then the Biden administration going so far to put a $25 million bounty basically on Maduro. Now that Trump actually is going out of his way, doing exactly what they wanted him to do, suddenly they have a problem with it. Go figure, right? Chuck Schumer doesn't genuinely take issue with this. Let's understand that. This isn't about policy or principle. It's about the position he's willing to take politically. That's all. Because at this point, what's undeniable is this: no matter what the president does, Democrats will take the opposing side, even if it makes them look foolish. If Trump acts, they object. If Trump succeeds, they panic. And whenever Trump delivers results, their goal is to try and attempt to rewrite history. And that's basically the political game that we're seeing at this point. And so with that being said, this is what Chuck is saying now.
So what can the Congress do about it is the next question.
Well, the next question is very simple. And that is that we have the War Powers Act. That's a privilege resolution, which means the Republicans can't block it. Tim Kaine and I and Rand Paul are sponsors of it. It's going to come to the floor this week. And if it is voted for, if it's voted positively in both houses, then the president can't do another thing in Venezuela without the okay of Congress. We have to pass it.
Yeah, so this is pretty much all Chucky has become useful for at this point, right? Unfortunately for him, it looks like all he and Congress are focused on now is wasting time pushing performative pieces of legislation meant to slow the president down, not actually solve for anything. And so it's all just really for show. The results, they aren't there. Instead of being productive for the American people, right? They rather burn time trying to find new ways to fearmonger and stir up chaos and oppose the president at every turn. And we know that Chuck is on his way out. That's the reality. He knows it. We know it. So I'm sure he really doesn't care anymore at this stage. He seems far more interested in creating noise and obstruction than actually doing the job he was elected to do. And so let's get into this next clip, ladies and gentlemen. John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania. And he's been known, he is one of the few Democrats who will hold his party accountable. I've reported on him in the past. We spoke about him as far as how he will speak out and not simply be a yes man for the Democrat Party. He will give the president credit when it is warranted. And so here, Democrat John Fetterman debunks his party's lie that Nicolas Maduro was not a threat to the United States. Fetterman, we all, Democrats, he's saying, years ago wanted to eliminate Maduro. Why have a bounty of $25 million if we didn't want him gone? Take a listen to this.
Senator John Fetterman sits on the Homeland Security Committee, and he joins us now. Senator, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning. You were one of the few Democrats that praised the president's actions of capturing this narco-terrorist to stand trial today in his first preliminary hearing. Senator?
Yes.
Your thoughts about what we're seeing? I don't know if you're able to see a monitor.
What we're seeing, it's like, yeah, I mean, for me, I think I don't know why we can't just acknowledge that it's been a good thing what's happened. I mean, I've seen the speeches from whether it's Leader Schumer or kinds of past tweets from President Biden. You know, we all wanted this man gone, and now he is gone. I think we should really appreciate exactly what happened here, and I think we did, just as I've salute our military, what they've done. That was really surgical and precise and very efficient. So why we can't celebrate these kinds of things.
Exactly. And this is the part that people keep downplaying about this situation. What was pulled off here was flawless. U.S. forces were able to land in a foreign country, move into the most heavily guarded military areas, arrest Maduro, and get out without a single American killed. Didn't lose any equipment and without turning it into a drawn-out conflict. That's a W. The entire operation took about 3 hours. That doesn't happen by accident. But instead of acknowledging that, you got people in the legacy media sitting behind their comfortable desk, binge watching one too many Netflix shows about the military, acting like this was no big deal, or saying it wasn't enough, or that they should have done more. I think that's easy to say when you're nowhere near the risk. Take a listen.
But I'm curious because you just described the regime as still in place, essentially. I mean, I'm curious why the Trump administration decided to leave it intact and only arrest Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the person who controls the police, the chief thug, Diaz-Cabello. He's the interior minister. He's been indicted by the United States. He was in that indictment the administration released. He's a narco-terrorist. There's a $25 million price on his head. He's still in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head. He is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people. We got the top priority. The number one person on the list was the guy who claimed to be the president of the country that he was not. And he was arrested along with his wife, who was also indicted. And that was a pretty sophisticated and frankly complicated operation.
It was.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me, why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd.
This is one of those situations with the Trump administration where they just focus on getting things done, really. Because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? And this just highlights the fact that Democrats, they are doing mental gymnastics with this situation because they know they dropped the ball again. The question is, what was the holdup under the Biden administration, right? When there was already a $25 million bounty on Maduro's head, why didn't they do anything back then? Was it just all lip service? An act, put it out there, but not really plan to do anything? And so what the American people are witnessing now, and Rubio mentioned this in his press conference, is the president is going to do what he sets out to do.
For me, I think Democrats, we all used to describe him as a dictator or a tyrant or a terrible person. And it wasn't less than a year ago, President Biden raised the bounty for $25 million less than a year ago. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. And if you are putting in these $25 million and they're calling him that he has to go, and now these things, now, are you willing to do more than just harsh language on social media? Or are you really going to kind of just let's remember, 8 million Venezuelans were displaced and mass chaos. And now they were shipping drugs to our nation as well, too. So for me, it's like, why as a Democrat, we can't just acknowledge that it was successful.
And so we have John Fetterman. He's calling out his colleagues for how critical they are being of the president after the fact that they had a bounty placed on Maduro, that they wanted him removed for all of these years. And now suddenly, because Trump actually does it, they have a problem with this. But check this out, because I want you to listen to, of all places, is The View, guys, Ana Navarro. And I want you to listen to what she says, because then I'm going to come back, because she says some very interesting things as far as she's actually giving Trump credit. But in her giving credit, I think they also expose the lies that they constantly get on their show and talk about the president. But first, let's go take a listen to her actually crediting the president with removing Maduro and arresting him. Take a listen.
Your question, who voted for this? The people in South Florida. The Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years, when we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability. It brought me into tears. It brought me great joy. And, I live in South Florida.
But are you okay with the way that it was done?
But you can, I think both things can be true.
Okay.
I think you can criticize and ask questions and have concerns about the way it was done and what this means in the future.
Right.
And I think you can still celebrate that this murderous, corrupt, sadistic son of a bitch is out of Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because he has... I think there's 8 million Venezuelan exiles all over the world. People have fled from this man's tyrannical rule. So for me...
Yeah, and so there you had that. And Ana Navarro, The View, actually gave the president credit. But in giving him credit, what this also tells you is that every single thing they say negatively about the president, when it comes to him being a dictator, him being someone who circumvents the rule of law, is an utter complete lie, because she knows what that really looks like. And so we don't see Whoopi. Whoopi's not fleeing the country. We don't see Joy. They're not getting on any planes and moving across the ocean or anything like that. They're still here. And so as much as they get on their TV show and they spew their propaganda to their audience about what the president is doing and how evil he is, I think this situation forced, at least momentarily, forced one of the hosts to be real as far as things go with what it really looks like to live under a dictatorship, what it really looks like to have someone who refuses to leave office when they were elected out, what it looks like to have somebody who really oppresses the people of that country, to the point where you have millions upon millions upon millions of that country's residents fleeing simply just to get away. People aren't doing that when it comes to President Trump. You may have a few celebrities here and there who can afford to, so they say they're going to move overseas and they go stay overseas for a month or two. But people aren't exiting America in droves. Matter of fact, people are actually still looking to come to this country each and every single day. And there's no greater example of how ridiculous these liberal protesters sound than Nicolas Maduro himself, he himself being stunned by how many rights America grants even the worst criminals, including himself. And so all these liberal protesters out marching, saying hands off Venezuela, free Maduro, don't even realize that if they were under his rule, they wouldn't even be allowed to protest the way they are. And so check this out. He never even conjured the notion he gets an attorney, could apply for bail, can stay silent. The right that none of the material he said outside of counsel has to come in. He was read his rights and the concept of bail and said, I am unaware of those rights. We are witnessing history, capturing a dictator alive and moving him through our own justice system flawlessly. Take a listen.
All of this stuff from the judge translated to him by an off-screen translator to ensure that he understood. He said he did. Interestingly, he said after the judge read him a version of Miranda rights and included the fact that he had the right to potentially be released on bail, Maduro said he was unaware of those rights. And it struck me that he's coming from a very different legal system, because it seemed like he had never even conjured the notion that he's entitled to an attorney, he may be able to apply for bail, and he has the right to use, to stay silent. He has the right that none of the material that he has said outside the purview of counsel necessarily has to come in. So it was interesting to see him sort of taking that in a system very different from the one I'm sure he's used to.
You're talking about the concept of being a criminal and still having rights is something that it seems foreign to him. But yet you'll still have liberals, and we're going to get into this last part now. You'll still have liberals out there who, because they come from this privileged place of living and being able to think freely in America, they'll say ridiculous things as far as actually wanting a Nicolas Maduro to be the president of the United States, even not realizing just what they would actually be in store for if he was actually someone like Maduro was the president of the U.S. But take a listen to some of these people on the street interviews actually saying they would want him as president. Take a listen.
Would you trade Trump for Maduro?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think Maduro was democratically elected.
Probably, yeah. Sure.
More than likely, yes, of course.
If there's a Nicolas Maduro out here who's going to bring us to revolution, I will support that movement.
I would rather have a bus driver in charge than a billionaire, okay? Let's put it that way.
Nicolas Maduro could come and be our president?
Yeah.
Oh, any day. Any day. Look, all the check marks are there. He's not white. Okay, he's a minority. Okay. He looks a little too much like Saddam Hussein, though.
Yeah, and so those who have the privilege of being from this country easily forget that the world is bigger than America, and that everywhere is not as free or as prosperous as the United States. And I guarantee you, if you dropped all of them into a real dictator-led country, they would be begging to come back home to America before you know it. But those are my thoughts. Drop your comments down below. Don't forget, smash that thumbs up. Let me know you love the video. Subscribe to the channel for more. Share this video. That way more people see what's going on. And as always, until next time.